U.S. government forecasters are predicting the most active hurricane season since 2005, the year Katrina walloped New Orleans. But can you bet on those numbers? We're going to find out right now with Matt Rogers. He is the president and founder of the Commodity Weather Group. His firm helps companies manage their weather-related risk. He joins us now from Washington, D.C. Matt, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says we may see as many as 23 storms in 2010. Let's just talk about how that compares with the kinds of hurricane seasons we've seen in the past.
It's definitely, good morning, how are you doing? It's definitely up to the caliber of the 2005 season or the 2004 season when we saw a large number of hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin. These are very impressive numbers. It's the highest total I've ever seen the National Weather Service come out with. It's very impressive.
Matt, how reliable are these NOAA forecasts based on your own work and what you've seen in the past, looking at predictions versus actual data?
Predicting the number of hurricanes is a very tough business. I do believe there's some degree of skill when you have a significant influencers like a La Nina pattern or an El Nino in the Pacific that can influence the Atlantic Basin season. But getting the exact numbers is very difficult. That might be why the Weather Service has such a huge range, 14 to 23 named storms. They're widening their target for sure this season.
Matt, what everybody wants to know is how heavy are the storms going to be? How powerful? Are we going to see any Cat 5 hurricanes? And where might they land? Is there any way you or the Weather Service can predict that kind of thing right now?
Not too easily, but climatology tells us the best chance for those powerhouse big storms is between August and October. So even though the hurricane season starts on June 1st, we shouldn't see the real big powerhouse threats until August through October period. We're expecting about 4 major hurricanes this season and maybe one of them in the Gulf of Mexico. So there's definitely the risk of that. And I feel like it's probably about mid-August to mid-October is the threat window right now.
Matt, you just mentioned the possibility of a major hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf has occupied our attention for other obvious reasons with the BP oil spill. Is there any way to relate oil in the Gulf with hurricanes in the Gulf?
Well, we haven't seen that combination before, that is for sure. There are a few theories as to what could happen if you were to get a hurricane over that oil spill area. If a storm was trying to develop immediately over that oil area, then it may actually sap the strength of the hurricane. It actually may reduce evaporation and weaken the system. However, if the storm is stronger and coming into the Gulf, it could actually push that water and that oil into other areas that we don't want it to go. So there's definitely some complications there. We have a few months of a window, I think, before we have that concern, but it is definitely a concern.
Matt, before we go, give us some insights as to what is driving the big forecast from the NOAA. What are some of the atmospheric conditions right now between water temperatures in the Atlantic, the Pacific, that kind of thing?
Yeah, there's 2 big issues right now that the Hurricane Center is keying in on, and everybody else I've talked to are too. Very warm Atlantic water temperatures right now, particularly out toward Africa and the eastern tropical Atlantic. And we're also leaving this El Nino behind and heading toward a La Nina pattern. La Ninas reduce wind shear and enable more storms to develop. So the combination of a La Nina in the Pacific and a very warm Atlantic is leading the way to a more bullish forecast this season.
Matt, we're always glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. Matt Rogers of the Commodity Weather Group with us from D.C.